Welcome back to the podcast, and somebody call Nelly because it is hot as fucking here right now. Yes, we are back for our Premier League predictions. Might be the hottest day of the year, but it's about to get a whole lot hotter. Your hot takes, your dark horses, your flops, your Premier League predictions, drop them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Two Blues podcast for your weekly dose of all things Chelsea and, of course, Premier League. And yes, I'm joined by Mr. C Money Picks as we're going to run through our Premier League predictions, bottom to top, 20th to first. Who is going to win the 2025-26 table? Now, before we get into it, Charms, we've got a busy week. We've got a few episodes dropping. But Premier League starts again tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's been gone for an entire pre-season, but I'm assuming you are just as buzzing, if not more than me, to get some football back in our screens on the weekend.
I mean, it just feels like the football hasn't stopped for Chelsea, has it? I mean, we've literally ended the season, went straight into World Cup, Club World Cup, straight into pre-season, and straight back into the league. I love it. I love that the ball has not stopped rolling, and I can't wait to chop this one up. This is undoubtedly my favourite Premier League video of the year, favourite video that we do every single season. So yeah, can't wait to get started.
We don't do enough talking on other teams. Obviously, at the end of the day, our bread and butter, we stick to what we know. Our bread and butter is Chelsea. But like Charm said, this is the episode where we get to flex a little bit, flex a few opinions that we might otherwise not be able to. So if you are a rival fan and you take offense to what we say about your team, I mean, by all means, jump in the comments and show us your Club World Cup or, your European trophies. Come on, you know what it is. Let's start at the bottom. And I'm 99% sure, I'm pretty sure I already know who you've got. So I'm just going to run through my bottom three. Bare bottom. I was about to say rock bottom, bro. Bare bottom, because these men are going to get spanked week in, week out, is Burnley. And I think you just have to look at spending 45 million on Broya and Ugo Chukwu as a little taster. Compare it to some of the other signings that clubs have made. These men have not invested very smart. I've got to say, they ain't gone for experience, ain't gone for quality. I mean, Kyle Walker might do something, but for me, they are rock bare bottom, smacked Burnley every single week. Might even beat out Southampton for a lowest points tally. I mean, they nearly pipped Derby. Burnley could run them close. 19th and 18th, Charms. This is I know I already said that we've got to speed through the bottom 10. I feel like we could be here talking for the next 10 minutes. 19th, Graham Potter is taking West Ham down this season. The signings they've made absolutely stink. Mohamed Kudus has just not been replaced. And to have Callum Wilson as your only striker, if you don't get relegated, you deserve it. Get that man in the Championship. Not good enough to manage a Premier League team. The squad isn't good. It breaks my heart to see it. But West Ham, I think, are going to be a calamity this season. And another team who I know you're fairly confident are going to have a huge drop-off are Brentford. Obviously, not only have they lost Thomas Frank, Norgard and Buemo, likely Wissa, they still have not replaced Tony from 2.5 seasons ago. And I really do, and I feel like you're the same, I really fear for Brentford this season.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I share the thought. I mean, I've gone with Burnley at 20th as well, rock bottom, for the exact same reasons. I can't see them really picking up points anywhere. Premier League is so demanded. And although they did well keeping clean sheets, particularly in that sort of middle to back end run of the Championship last season, this is not that level. There's going to be goals that they bleed in. And when you're looking forward at goals and you're looking at Armando Broja and Zeki Amdouni, I just don't know where they're going to find more than 10 goals between the pair of them. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm one lower than you. I've gone with Brentford at 19th. Just exactly, I share the exact same thoughts. I think that, I think the biggest loss is Thomas Frank. I don't know what they're doing replacing him with a manager who's never managed a game of professional men's football in his life.
He's not managed before?
No, this is his first ever time managing a professional men's team. It's brutal. And I was talking about it with my mate, and I think the question is, who are they going to replace him with when they inevitably replace him? And will they be able to manage any points on the board? Wissa even freezing himself out of the club to try and make a move. It says everything about it. I just can't see it. And the other one, obviously, a team that's just come up is a team that must go back down in Leeds United. I just don't think they have the gunpowder about them. I think it's going to be difficult, although they've got fantastic fans and, they've got a great history. I just don't look at, Joel Piroe as a Premier League striker somehow Bamford is still there and not moved. I don't understand it. I do not understand where they get their money from,
How
and
old is
whether
Patrick Bamford now?
he must be 32, mate. He's been up and
And the
coming for the
rest, I was
last
going to say he's got to be
15 years.
37, man. This
Yeah,
geezer.
I don't. He's hung on for too long, but yeah, them are three going down. Burnley, Brentford, and Leeds. I think that we looked at a lot of yo-yo clubs. I think that Sunderland, not only are they going to overperform, will get there in a little bit, but I think Brentford are just going to find themselves dropping, and then it will be too late by the time they got on the recovery march.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I mean, I don't know if you know much about Igor Thiago. Obviously, he was the guy that was supposed to replace Ivan
Yeah,
Toney. Then, spent the entirety of last season out with serious injury or injuries. But I just don't know if it's a little bit too little, too late to bring him back into a squad that realistically he won't recognise from when he joined Thomas Frank's side 2 years ago. The entirety of the squad has changed, and another player that we didn't even mention has left and gone to Bayer Leverkusen, Mark Flecken. That's a big, big
yeah.
loss for them. He was a great keeper in goal. But I'm interested to hear you say Leeds go down because I've got Leeds 17th. So I think they will just beat the drop. And that is because I think they do have very good players. They've obviously got, as you said, Pirot. I think they've got Nonta. I think they've still got, obviously, Daniel Farke's a good manager. But I was very surprised when I looked at Leeds' recruitment. And when you look at, the teams coming up, it's a big thing to recruit. And when I put Burnley bottom and I said, oh, the recruitment stunk, I then went and looked at Leeds, who I put 17th. I mean, their highest profile signing is Sean Longstaff. I'm
Yeah.
not sure uh what their strategy is. I mean, I don't know if you can share any more of that being based in Leeds or having Leeds fans around you, but I'm not sure what Leeds are doing.
Well, my biggest problem with Leeds United is their goalkeeping situation. I mean, all the fans are absolutely done with Ilan Meslier, and they have somehow replaced him. But when there's two goalkeepers who are arguably on par for ability, fighting it out for the number one spot, and neither of them really have anything about them, it is worrying. That back line looks like it will just get torn apart whenever they play. Obviously you got the Joao Pedros and the Haalands and these world class strikers that will go in there and marshal their way around, but when I'm seeing them struggling with, Fulham, and I'm seeing them struggle with like Wolves and these lot, I'm thinking, I don't know, I just there's a world where they stay up, yeah, but realistically, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to peg them to get dropped. I just don't see enough improvement from the Championship to the Premier League, and that golf and quality is going to be much. And speaking of it, 17th for me, just skated out the relegation. I have got Wolves. I think that it is just they look strapped, they look barren. I think that the they haven't recruited enough at all. And I think they have just about enough to survive. But similarly to last season, I think it will just be based on there are three teams worse than them. I think that they will just about be able to survive. But yeah, I think it will be a hard season in Wolverhampton.
No, I hear that. I think Strand Larsen's a good bit of business to get him in. I think it was 27 million euros, so 20 odd mil to get him in. He did fairly well for them last season, all things considered. And obviously he's going to be replacing Cunha as the main man up top. But yeah, you look at Eight Nuri, Guedes, there's quite a few players in there, some that haven't hit the heights that we expected them to at Wolves. But there's a lot leaving and not much replacing it. So I'm with you. I've gone Wolves 15th, but I think there is a case for them to be a little bit lower. And my team 16th, who well I know for a fact you've got them to beat the drop as well. Sunderland. Bro, let's just take a minute and talk about Sunderland's recruitment because we've been on this channel talking about how excited Mark Hughes is going to be, Enzo Lefebvre, Granit Xhaka behind them. I didn't realise that they'd also signed Habib Diarra, a centre midfielder, 21-year-old centre midfielder for Strasbourg, who played alongside Andre Santos last season and was excellent. And they also signed Simon Adingra from Brighton. Sunderland are making very, very good signings, bro.
No, 100%. And I mean, I've got them even higher than that. I mean, my 16th is
Where have you got
West
them?
Ham. Very close to it, but we got
Ah,
West Ham at 16th. We got West Ham at 16th. I just all the same reasons that you have. I just think that it they'll be very lucky that there are other teams worse than them in the league, and obviously Potter and that. I don't see where they're improving. I mean, hanging on to Mikel Antonio, and it's just strange to me. But 15th, I've
well,
also
they've
got
cancelled his
Everton.
contract now, Mikel Antonio. I didn't
Yeah, I
even
was gonna,
realise.
s- I was gonna say, I could have thought that he was staying in there, but it seems to me that he's not. I don't know. It's a very weird situation with them up top. I don't know where they get their goals. Very similar to Brentford, Burnley. Leeds, I don't know who's going to be the one bagging their goals, and they're going to have to, make
Callum
some
Wilson,
decisions in the
bruv.
next 2 weeks. I don't know, man. It's strange. It's very strange to me.
If you're Bowen,
15th.
surely you're fuming because you've
Oh,
broken into the English team. You've got everyone from the bottom half of the table saying this is one of, if not the best attacking midfielders in the league. When you look at the contributions he makes to the team, he's obviously lost. Evan Ferguson didn't work out. He's lost players like Antonio, lost Kudus, potentially losing Paqueta as well. Do you think there's a possibility that Jared Bowen gets snapped up by someone higher in the table?
I think a team like Newcastle would be really happy to have a player
Bro,
like
we
Jared
might
Bowen.
we might be
Yeah,
in sync today. We might be in sync. I was
yeah.
about to say
I
exactly the
think
same.
I think that would be a great signing for them. Obviously, we look at the players at Newcastle are hemorrhaging and the way that they like to play football. I think that him on the other side from a Gordon, I think that's quite dangerous. But yeah, I just think he's slightly off the mark. Well, sorry, slightly too good for this West Ham team who are slightly off the mark. And I think if he wasn't, if he didn't bleed claret, I think he would have been gone a while ago. To be totally honest. 15th though, I have got Everton, who I think are lucky. To be honest, I don't really
Okay.
like their strategy, their recruitment, and I think that they are a Premier League team and not quite ready for the drop just yet. Maybe give it a season or two if they don't make any
What don't
improvements.
you
But
like about their recruitment? Like, I'm
just
just
don't think it's
curious.
I just don't think it's enough just yet. You know what
You
I'm
don't
saying?
think
I haven't seen.
Grealish, Kiernan Dewsbury, oh,
Well, Kid
Tiano
Dewsbury Hall, I
Barrett.
don't think so. I was going to
Also,
say
very
until the
quickly, they already love Dewsbury Hall. He's played one game for them against Roma. They love him.
good. I haven't seen much about that. I know the Dewsbury Hall that I've seen play football, and he's very mid-table team. Like starting mid-table team. To be fair, the Grealish thing yesterday morning it came as an yesterday on the time of recording. I was absolutely shocked that that was the decision that Grealish had made. I thought Grealish was excellent for Man City in their treble winning campaign. I thought that he was a big part of why they were so successful personally. And I think that we've noticed a big drop off in form since he's been kind of ousted out of the team. And, when they're relying on these new players, the Omar Marmouches, and, getting in players like Reinders and whatnot. Like, I think that they're going to. They're going to have a lot of new blood when they've got players like Jack Grealish who are in the English team for a reason. You know what I mean? I think that he is a good, fantastic player on that left flank. And I was so surprised when Everton did it. But outside of that, and to be honest, Grealish wanting to go to this Everton project, I don't see much that I find too interesting. That's just me. And then
No, it's fair
talk
enough. I
about
think there are quite a lot of, and I said there, Tiano Barry. They've signed a new striker. They've let Dominic Calvert-Lewin go. They've signed a new striker from La Liga, from Villarreal, 30 million euros. I think he got 19 goals. It's one of them where will he come in and be a Romelu Lukaku for Everton, or will he come in and be a Beto?
yeah, no, pretty much. I think that that's a good way of putting it. Everton, you're either one or the other, really, as a striker. But then 14th, the club that I really can't wait to talk about is Sunderland. I think they're going to overperform big time for where people expect them to. As you said, Enzo Lafayette's an exciting young player. I think he's really good. I think he was way too good for the Championship in the very brief time that he had there in those 18 games from January. And yeah, I thought he was a massive part of why they went up, why they won those games leading into the final, and in the final of the Championship playoffs. The fact that they didn't really touch much of the ball, kind of let the pressure be off of them, had like 33% or something like that, 30 odd percent, and then just popped every single time they got it. I thought they looked so sharp going forward. The only thing I do worry about Sunderland is I think it's 4 or 5 of those players are AFCON nationals, and in January when the AFCON tournaments does start coming back round, they will look stripped bare, and it will be difficult for them to kind of fill in those gaps with a bunch of 20, 21-year-olds. But Regis Lebris, the manager that I've got faith in, I really do have trust in him. I think he's a really exciting new manager on the scene. So I think that he'll be able to scrape points early enough that by the time that the fall off happens, I think they'll still be sitting pretty in and around that lower mid-table, that 14th. So I think they will survive, and I think they'll relatively thrive for the team that they're expected to be.
Big shout. I think they're definitely, I mean, a lot of people have been liking the recruitment and barring a big surprise, I think they are going to do better than, I mean, in recent history. I can't remember kind of many, apart from Brentford, I can't remember many teams that have come up and made an impact. And it does look like Sunderland, huge club, huge history. does look like they have got what it takes to stay in the Premier League this year. But 14th, man, is that's a big shout. That's a big shout. And you know what? I'm loving the fact that up until now, I think we've got every single team. Might have been different orders, but we've got every single team. The bottom six exactly the same. I've gone 14. I've gone Fulham. Bit of a nothing really shout. I don't think they've signed anybody or sold anybody. Not impressed with them. I
Yeah,
think Emil Smith Rowe has just come back from injury. Looks, with all due respect, fat as
he looks
fuck. He's going to need to
fat.
lose
Yeah.
weight if he was going to make an impact. But yeah, good manager. I just don't really think they've done anything this summer. 13th, sad to say, I think Bournemouth. I think losing Kirkes, Petrovic, great signing, and they've made a couple of other smart moves, but losing Kirkes, Huijsen, and Zabani in the same window is going to absolutely kill them. I cannot see them, great business and great money for that club, but I can't see them reinvesting it well, and I can't see them doing very well. 12th, I'm going Palace. I think another team that will drop off this season, but for a different reason. Well, might be a similar reason. They could still well lose Eze and Gehi this week, or in the next couple of weeks before the window closes. But I think the thing that's going to hurt them the most is Europe. I think, although they are only in the Conference League, they didn't unfortunately get the Europa League. I do think they are really going to struggle with 2 games a week, particularly if they do lose those 2 talismans. But yeah, 12 Palace, 13 Bournemouth, and 14 Fulham. I'm going. What about you?
Uh, yeah, so I did my 15, 14. So my 13th, and this is very harsh of me, but as you mentioned there briefly with Nottingham Forest in Europe, I think sorry with Palace and Europe, I think Nottingham Forest are going to come 13th. I think it's a lot. I think
Yeah.
where they are in Europa, I think it's so much for them to be managing Europe and the Premier League at the same time. I can't really think of the last time that they've been in and around this much football, particularly since coming up. And, obviously last season, massive overperformance. They do have a bunch of players at Forest that I really do like, and my FPL is a reflection of that. I think that players like Elliot Anderson and even their entire back line are very exciting. But once again, when certain players are gone for the AFCON in January, but they're still playing in European tournaments and they've still got the Premier League, I can see a lot of burnt out legs. I can see a cup picking up some stupid injury to some key players. And although I do like the club and I really do hope that they do well, because it is nice to have a nice cultured side like Nottingham Forest in the Prem, I just think it's so much for them to do. And then 12th, I share what you said about Fulham. I think it's a bit of a nothing burger where you have them in 14th. I might rate them a little bit more than you do. I think that they've got an all-round good team. I think it's a very physical team, very strong, and I think there's a reason why they picked up that hard-fought win at Stamford Bridge on Boxing Day last year. I think that a lot of it comes down to the fact that they are willing to just play till the final whistle and not really drop their heads and give up hope like I've seen a lot of teams do in the Premier League. But that physicality, I think, will keep them up and keep them alive and keep them relatively thriving. But I can't see them doing better than 12th. I really can't see them in the top half, especially with some of the teams I've got above them. And then next in 11th, I've got Brighton. A little bit of a. I don't really see much of an
You've
improvement.
got a couple of shouts, a couple of big risky shouts in your top 10 then.
Well, this is the thing, man. Like, yeah, in my top 10, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I just, there's a lot of teams which I think have recruited a lot better, and I'm very excited for some of how certain teams have recruited. I think maybe the only one that hasn't necessarily made the signings that I wanted to, that will be in my top 10. Spoiler alert, is Spurs, but we'll get to them when we get there. But outside of them, I think that there are plenty of other teams who have done a little bit better than Brighton have. And very similarly to Fulham, I think it's a tiny pinch of a nothing burger. And although they do pick up big wins every now and then, yeah, I think that this is the season where they revert back to type. I think a lot of the overperformance from last season are going to have to strip it back a little bit and go back to the reality of life.
Are they in Europe this year, Brighton, or do they miss out?
I think they just escaped it. I'll check it up now, but I think they didn't. They just about didn't make it. If
All right,
I'm not
because that I was
wrong.
going to say if I've thought, oh yeah, no, they missed out on qualification. I've gone a
Yeah.
bit higher with Brighton. I think, and I'm not. inspired by their recruitment, but I do think it's smart replacements. So they lost Estupinian and they've signed this Maxim de Coulier, who I don't know much about, but looks like an incredibly attacking left back. I think the main one, obviously, they've lost João Pedro as well, and they've replaced him with this. I don't. Have you ever heard of this kid that they've signed? This 18-year-old Charalampos Kostulas from Olympiacos.
I don't like it when teams do that, to be honest. I don't like it when people buy in
Have you
kids
ever
and
have you
then
ever heard of
it's
him?
no.
Because I've never heard of him before doing my research for this episode. He's 18 years old. He cost 35 mil. He scored 21 goals in the league last season. 37 goals all comps if I calculate it correctly. I mean, for an 18-year-old playing your first senior season, even in Greece, that's very impressive. So I think if they've managed to, and Brighton, we all know how good their scouting and their recruitment can be. So if he turns out like Evan Ferguson in his first season at Brighton, I think he could definitely be, well, one of the players and one of the signings to watch this year. But if he turns out to be like Evan Ferguson at West Ham last season, I think they will struggle. And there is also the distinct possibility they lose Carlos Baleba in the next couple of weeks. And that
Yeah,
they won't be able to replace him.
yeah, for sure. No, that would be a big loss of them to leave him. But as things stand, he is still there. I didn't know that. I think United are sniffing in and around him, and but I think that they're kind of pressed for midfielders at the minute. But I like their signing of Maxime de Kuiper from Bruges. I think he's a great player as well. Someone that's made it into my FPL. I think he's gonna have a good season. And probably one of the reasons why I don't see them coming a bit lower with all of their losses at the minute, and probably a player that will end up at Chelsea if he overperforms too much at Brighton. But yeah,
Listen,
that
man,
that is my
listen. If Hato's going to step up at the centre back, we could still do with backup for Kukurea.
yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, that's my bottom half for the league. So Burnley, Brentford, and Leeds get dropped. Wolves, West Ham, Everton, Sunderland, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, and Brighton makes up my bottom half.
We've got very similar. I think we've got 8 out of 10 the same there. I've gone, I think you put them 13th. I've gone for Palace 11th. I agree. I think big drop off. I think the fact that Marianakas was holding Gibbs White hostage to sign a contract extension doesn't particularly bode well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear next summer or in January about some gentlemen's agreements or further release clause letting him go next year. But yeah, like you said, they're relying on a few players from AFCON, and also they are a Gibbs White and a Chris Wood injury away from dropping into the relegation zone, in my opinion. 10th, bringing up my mid-table, I've gone Everton. I think completely on the flip side of you, I think the recruitment's been fantastic. I think Moisey is the manager. I think he's going to do great things with them. I think they've got a new stadium, so spirits are going to be high going into that. I think players like Jack Grealish, you've got the functional players like Dewsbury Hall, but signing players like Jack Grealish, that is a statement for Man City. Signing for Everton, signing a treble winner, a player that's played at Pep Guardiola's with Pep Guardiola's team for the last 2-3 years. I think that's an excellent signing. But the most exciting signing, I think, for them is Adam Asnou, 19-year-old Moroccan Spanish left back. They signed him from Bayern for, I think it was less than 9 million euros. He hasn't had the best start, but he's very, very young. He's a fantastic young talent, and I think he's got great potential. So fingers crossed. I think it will be Mikalenko, the starting left back, but fingers crossed we see him develop this season. Obviously, I already said that I've got Brighton 8th. 9th, another team who I think absolute mess at the moment and are going to have a huge drop off. I can see this being a bad year for Newcastle, man. I can see them. I predict them 9th. I can see a world where Newcastle finish outside the top half of the table this season, and Eddie Howe walks.
I don't. I listen. I don't think it's as wild as people are thinking about it. I think that this Isak saga is really, really detrimental for them, and I think that when you have a player that not only is like wanting to leave, but is actively saying that he's played his final game for Newcastle, he's not playing for Newcastle ever again. It's really bad for the overall team morale. And obviously, we all know about. I'll get into Newcastle because they're not going to be in my top six. Shock, they will be in the bottom half of the top half, if you will. I just think that they're just a bit off of it, and I think that the team spirit ain't quite there yet. But in 10th, I've gone with Crystal Palace. I think it's a hard. I think Stella's
Do you think
been
Palace
a
will
hard
finish
place.
above Fulham, above Forest, both with
Yeah,
European football?
yeah, I do. I think that it's less. I think that it's less. I think they have less incentive to go out there and win in Europe, where the Nottingham Forest do. I think that we've seen
Mm.
from Nottingham Forest that they can compete with some pretty solid teams at a pretty solid level. Whereas I think Palace, they kind of know their role, if you will. I feel like there'll be a little bit more chips in the Premier League, kind of play their big players in the league, hoping to try and get back to it, get back to trying to get that sixth or seventh, or trying to overperform in the league. But I think that they will get the top half, and I think they will crash out super early in Europe. To be honest, I don't see them quite there. Uh, New goalkeeper in Walter Benitez, goalkeeper that's been relatively impressive for PSV and who's had European football in his past, and he's solid. I just think that where they haven't changed much. I don't think they necessarily need to. Maxence Lacroix is a good sign, and I think we saw that last year. And obviously Mark Gehi is a great centre back, so someone that we've wanted to sniff in about, and captain and marshalling that side, I think will be a good thing for him. As you said about Bournemouth, I've got them ninth. I like Georgi Petrovic there, where they have lost a lot of good players. These are players that when they came into Bournemouth, we didn't really know much about. And they signed in Adrian Traffer, who's got a lot of good rumours about him. Took Stad to a pretty solid place in the league, if I'm not mistaken, last season. And he's come into the Premier League on his first stint in English football. And I think that Bournemouth, where they do have questions about some of the players they sign in, they moneyball themselves pretty well. And whenever they do sign in these young players, I think that they always end up kind of silencing the doubters, if you will. And I think that they're going to do it again, end up in the top half. And it's just nice to see a team like Bournemouth being able to be as consistent as they are in the last few seasons since they've been in the Premier League. They've kind of crept their way into better and better positions each time. And I see them holding it down in the top half once again. And I don't think there'll be too much of a shock if they do. Eighth, I've gone with Tottenham Hotspur.
Ooh,
I think that there's a lot. I think losing Son is going to be quite a lot.
Yeah, true.
I think that
although he was pretty shit last year by his standards, let's be fair.
By his own standard, yeah. I'm not a big lover of Solanke. I think he's very overrated as a sort of target striker. And I think that a lot of the goals he did score kind of came from big explosions down the flank. And although they have that one kid, forgot his name off the top of it, but he's actually pretty solid that they signed last season. Matisse Tell, he's been good. He's a good little striker, and I was kind of clamoring for him to come to Chelsea, to be totally honest, for a little minute. I really liked him, but he's kind of showing his marks. Mohamed Kudus is going to be a big thing, but I think that Kudus is not really the type of player to play those balls in over the top for someone like Dom Solanke. They rely so much on goals. I think he's a bit more sort of chop in and do it himself. And if that doesn't start working, I think it's going to be a little bit brutal. I don't
know. I feel like Kudus is, as much as I agree that he's not a striker, he's a creator. I feel like at West Ham, he was more often than not part of the front three, and I feel like he will be. I don't know. I feel like he's got. If I had to pick a top scorer out of Tottenham, I'd say I think Kudus this year.
I mean, I think with the way that the sort of they got rid of Ange, and I feel like they still are playing that suicide ball. From the little brief bits I've seen from Thomas Frank, it's not as compact. It's less aggressive, and it's more focused on that sort of passing and distribution and being cute. And we saw what happened to them a week or two ago when they got absolutely dismembered 4-0. I know it's a really good side in Bayern Munich who's doing it, but it's just not a good look, And although I've still got them to come pretty high, particularly compared to last season, it's 7 positions above where they came last year. No European football this season. There is still that.
They got Champions League, fella. They
won
the Europa League.
Of course, they won the Europa League, right? I forgot. Yeah, I forgot that's how it works.
So that's what I was. When you put them so low, my thinking was, does he think they're going to win the Champions League? Because I've got them higher, and I've got them to crash out of the Champions League. But I really like Frank, really like Kudus, I really like Palhinha. I'll ask you the question: Would your prediction change if before the season started, if tonight they signed Eze and Savio?
Yeah, probably. I like Eze. I think Eze would fit really well into their side, to be honest. I'd definitely put them above United if they did that, to be totally frank. So,
I mean, I've
definitely
got them
above Newcastle.
Listen,
Uh,
it could go two ways because you could be right if they don't sign these two players, and I could be right if they do sign these two players. Or knowing
mm,
Tottenham, vice versa, who fucking knows? They could finish 18th again
yeah,
for all we know.
honestly.
It is anybody's guess with that club. But yeah, interesting. I thought you'd have them higher, but not unexpected. I think there are, when you look at the Premier League now, it's not just, the big six. There are 8, 9, 10 teams that could realistically finish in any order. But yeah, bringing up the rear before we go into the top four, on your side, I've got Man United seventh. I think big spending. It's been all right. I think one game a week is obviously going to help them massively. And I do think Amarim is a good manager. For better or for worse, I still don't think he's as clueless as last season showed. And I do think, yeah, the one game a week is going to be a massive, massive boost for Man United. And then I've got Aston Villa sitting at sixth. Look, Emery's very solid. I can't really fault them. I don't really know what to talk about when I'm here about drawbacks in Villa. But the only thing that I can really think is maybe getting a little bit stagnant. I mean, look, they'll do well to keep Ollie Watkins. I think it was a mistake letting Duran go last season because if he'd have been, their starting striker this season, I think I probably would have put him a little bit higher. But I haven't seen him make any exciting signings. I feel like I'm pretty sure they're in Europe again. They're in Europa League. So it's going to be one. Are they in Europa? I can't even fucking remember. We'll look after this. But either way, I'm not galvanized. I don't think they're going to improve on last year. I think it's going to be similar. I think they will do well to be in and around the mix, but I don't think there is going to be, towards the end of last season, game weeks 36 to 38, they were still pushing for Champions League, or it was still mathematically possible. I don't think it's going to be that this year. And I do think teams like Man United and then the team that I got fifth, Spurs, I do think, unfortunately, last year was the changing of the guard. I do think the big boys are going to come back to play this season.
Yeah, no, I share that, and I think off of that, I think we're going to have the same top four. I think that a lot of people will have the same teams in those top four spaces. I think they are very clearly the best four teams in the league. For me, it's been Newcastle seventh. Uh, I don't mind Anthony Elanga. I think he's a good player. I think
Yeah.
it's a good buy. I think he's going to work very well for them. And obviously, Ramsdale, we can have our opinions on, but I think they are building up a good team. My main problem with them is, as I was saying before, I think the massive lack of team morale and losing big players like Isak and not really getting in all the target players that they wanted to. I think they were ready to go and make that
Yeah.
marquee signing and come top four, and it's just not going to happen for them. But that means sixth, a team I haven't said yet, a team I can't stand, but a team that I actually do like the signings they're making is Manchester United. I think that they finally kind of put their hand in the infinity gauntlet and just remembered who they were and
Mm.
started buying in the players that, truth be told, they probably deserve as Manchester United. It's a team that's got buckets and buckets load of history, and last season it was unacceptable. It was nothing short of unacceptable.
Yeah. You're
So for
you're a
them to
big
come,
fan of Sesko as well, aren't you?
yeah, I think Shesko's is a bully. I like his height. I like his touch. I think that he still, maybe, when you look at how Ekatike performed against Crystal Palace, that's exactly what I expect from a player like Shesko. Those balls, that touch, that control, that sort of dynamism, and I think he's once again a really good aerial threat. And not only him, I think that either side of him, they've just recruited two players that we know can whip in a wicked cross and also can do it themselves when they need to, in Cunha and in Wemmer, who have been used to having that striker near them that they can kind of make things happen with. And that front three there, I think it is scary, and I think that is a real Premier League front three. And I think that Man United fans should be excited. There are still a couple questions I have about them, like relying so much on Lenny Yoro to be that guy at the back to kind of keep your clean sheets, to keep you safe. But let's see if they get there this season. And then fifth, I've gone with Villa once again. Like you said, I think that they've been. I've got love for their manager. I think Emery's a man for it. I think that they've got a lot of really good, talented players in and around them, and I'm pretty sure that they did just scrape out missing on Europe. And I think because of that, it's sort of all chips in one basket. Let's pray we get a domestic tournament and get a good run through it. But let's put everything we can into the league. And I think that it's time for Aston Villa to kind of show that they are a good team in English football, a very strong team. And when I read some of the other teams that I put below them, the Bournemouth, Palace, Brighton, Fulham, Forest, Sunderland, their games I expect them to win, to be totally honest, at this point. I think they've shown more than enough ability to win these games. And I think they're just going to miss out on the top four. But I think it's mainly just similarly to the people that just survived relegation. I think it will be just because of the quality of the teams in front of them. Because as I said, I don't think there's many people denying who's going to be the top four this season.
Yeah, so just to confirm, Aston Villa are in the Europa League next year, and I think that's conducive to what we've both said. I think they will go all out for that because I think that is the most realistic chance, A, of getting in the Champions League, and B, we all know how much Emery loves the Europa League. And if there is a man born for a competition other than Jose Mourinho and any silverware ever, it is Unai Emery in the Europa League. And I mean, look, what do you think of Aston Villa's chances in the Europa League? I mean, look, they did well in the
Hey,
Champions League, and I might be putting a cheeky little tenner on after we get off this video.
I'll put it like this. I think that they're going to be definitely disrespected in terms of what people expect of them, especially by people outside of England. When people think Aston Villa, they think Premier League, but they don't think that upper echelon of ability. But I think last year kind of silenced a lot of people, and I think that they've done it on a lot more of a shoestring than a lot of other teams have available to them. So I think that they will go far. I mean, if you can get them at good odds to get into the knockout group, particularly quarters and semis, I think that you'd be silly not to take a little punt if you're a gambling man on that. Because as he said, who's more up for it than Unai Emery outside of the special one?
What's a little £10 between friends? You know, go down to your local. Like you're probably going to go put that in your work FPL anyway. Instead, save your money, join the Two Blues FPL where you can win prizes for free and potentially get money back on your tenner. Listen, don't say we aren't looking out for you. Don't say we don't help you. But we are now moving into the meat and two veg, as we like to call it, the top four. Charms, I've got Arsenal fourth. Where have you got them? Have you got them fourth as well?
I've got Arsenal fourth, baby boy, and I'll tell you exactly
Talk to
why. Right?
me!
I'll tell you why I've got Arsenal fourth. Five
Because they're
signings that they
bums!
yeah, they're trash, right? But five signings that they've made have I've got strong opinions on. I think Norgard, Musquera, and Zubamendi are great signings, and I think that them three are going to have really good seasons. I think Madueke is not going to have a fantastic season because he plays best when he's off on the right, and I don't understand why you would sign a right winger when you've got Bukayo Saka as your right winger for 38 games in the season. You're going to play him out of position on the left if you're going to start him. And I don't think you get the best out of him from there. And I've seen him as a Chelsea fan. I've watched an awful lot of Noni Madueke, more Noni Madueke than I probably wanted to watch in my life. And I just don't understand where he's going to do it. And the other one, Victor Gyökeres, I've had to take him out my FPL after what I've seen how he's been playing it for Arsenal. I mean, honestly, I thought Gyok 9 was going to be the striker of the year. I thought he was going to be the one that really put Arsenal on the back, and they finally got a real 9 that they can rely on. But I just don't think so after seeing the preseason.
Victor Schlopperez, bro. This guy is just not what he was in. Hey, listen, if
Crazy.
all I'll say is I will run him at Chelsea and Charm said Liga stunk. Let's see how it goes. But we've already, well, I say we've already both done a U-turn. I've already done a U-turn. I already am not rating him nowhere near what I was at Sporting. So listen, does Charms, does he know? Does he know? What does he know that I don't?
Well,
Listen,
I'll put it like this.
I think
Yeah,
he'll still hit. Do you think he'll hit 20 goals this season?
I think that he would have a great season to have 20 goals in him this year, unless he's on pens.
That's
I
the thing
don't
as
really.
well.
Which he will be. But
So
I
either
think
he
that
finishes
will
with
help him a lot.
20 and Saka finishes with 0, or Saka finishes with 5 and Gyökeres finishes with 15.
Yeah, it's honestly going to be one or the other. I think that that's a pretty succinct way of putting it. To be totally fair.
Fair
I'm
enough.
wondering who have you got at third? Because if this is the same as me, I think I know where we're going with this.
I've gone Liverpool third. No, you've gone City third, isn't it?
I've gone City third. Yeah, I have.
I tell you what, I just I feel like they are inevitable. I feel like Phil Foden did not play last season. Pep Guardiola did not manage last season. Rodri did not play last season. Haaland, even when he scored, weren't playing last season, Kevin De Bruyne. I feel like this year, I feel like Eight Nuri is a fantastic signing. I think that's going to go under the radar as a great signing on the left side for City. I think Reinders, brilliant signing as well. Obviously, a bit of a setback for them having Rodri receive another injury at the Club World Cup. But I do think they've got enough talent in there, particularly with Reinders. I think he's a great addition. And then even if they lose Savio, there's talk that they're going to go out and get a Rodrigo. There's talk that they're going to go out and get a Vinicius Junior next season. They've still got the best or one of the best strikers in the world up top. And even though they've got Edison, they might be going. They've already bought James Trafford, who's one of the best up and coming keepers, and they might even be going in for Gigi Donnarumma, who I wanted to say on the last video. If we were talking about market opportunities for Newcastle, number one, Jarrod Bowen, number two, City have just stolen James Trafford off you. Go and steal Gigi Donnarumma off Man City. If there are two clubs in the Premier League that can afford that man's wages, it's Man City and Newcastle. Go and do them dirty, bro. They've also got the Saudi owners. So look, if I was Newcastle, I'd be going all in for Bowen and Donnarumma. But yeah, I've gone Liverpool third. I just think as good as they are and as much as they have, if you look at their FIFA overalls, they've improved their team. I don't feel like they have improved it on the pitch. I feel like they've missed the glaring issues, which is the defence. They've replaced a right back that can't defend with another right back that can't defend. They're getting gassed off one goal at Jeremy Frimpong cannot defend, bro. He's a winger.
Whoa.
He is not a right wing back. He is a winger. Brother, this man is going to get found out quicker than Trent. I'm telling you. Milos Kerkez, however, great signing on the left. But my main issue for Liverpool, as I'm sure you will know, I think Virgil van Dijk sucks dick, bro. I think this guy is such a bum. He has lost so much of his game. And you saw it against Crystal Palace. Not only is his football IQ, his timing, his tackling, I'm pretty sure he should have given a penalty. He did give the penalty away for Sarr. I just think they've completely, they papered over the cracks last year with a Klopp team that was definitely still Klopp's team. I've been impressed with Ekitike. Apart from that, I haven't been impressed with Verts. Haven't been impressed with Frimpong. Haven't been impressed with any other signings. I think they're going to drop off this year.
So I've taken City third because I think Reinders is a great signing, but I just think that losing a player like Kevin De Bruyne, who offered so much, so consistently all the time, is going to be massive. I think that when you have Omar Marmoush and Haaland, and you play with one striker, it's going to get a little bit confusing of who is who, because you can't really drop either of them. You know what I mean? Like they're both undroppable, and one of them's going to have to go. Obviously, I know Savinho never really made it into that starting position. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great utility that they were using to good effect last season, and I do think he's gonna leave. I think that he deserves to be playing great football, and you know, I think Eight Nuri. I think the opposite of you with him. I think he's quite overrated, to be totally honest. I think
Really?
he's got. Yeah, I think he's looked great when he's played for Algeria, and I think it's easy to stand out in that Wolves fullback position. You know, he ended up being probably the best player at Wolves at left back, which is very impressive. But when you go to a big team like City, easy to get swept under the rug and over the and under the radar. And Cherky just, although he's got a fantastic touch about him, he just screams of disciplinary issues. He screams of being overweight in training. He just, there's something about him which I just don't trust. And a player with that much ability going for near enough 30 million quid, I don't trust it. Losing a player like Jack Grealish as well, another great utility. I just feel like they've lost a lot of players that really made them tick, and I just don't think that it's going to be their season. Where where the two other teams above them, in my opinion, have improved. I don't think it's going to happen. And in second, I've got Liverpool. I think that
Come on!
in second, I've got Liverpool. I think that
You already know what it is. Come on!
I think Florian Wirtz is a good player. I think he's really top. I do think that although he might have had a bad game against Palace, let him get used to this physicality in this league, and I think that he is going to make his own. Similar to how, you know, City have just lost to De Bruyne. I feel like Liverpool have just bought theirs. I think that he is going to make the difference. And with Ekitike, the quality that this kid has, the touch, the turn, the pace, the physical. I think that he is the full package and he is scary. And I don't really agree with your take on Jeremy Frimpong. I think that he is not maybe not the best defender, but I think that he's got enough in him that when he's going up and down, up and down, up and down, I think he's got 90 minutes of that, and I think he will be able to track back and make those last hit challenges. And I know how high you are on Milos Kirkhead and how much you've rated him and how much I've liked him in the past as well. I think that he's going to be a good replacement. My problem with them is how many players have they lost Liverpool, and I think that when you look at players like Kelleher, Quansah, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who probably left for less than they should have and were better than just being thrown out. I think losing Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez for a combined 125 million euros is great business. And I think it's been put back into the right place pretty much. Them two have paid for Florian Wirtz. And if you were to, do an NBA style trade for those two for Wirtz, I think a lot of people would be talking about how Liverpool got far and away the best end of the stick on that. Getting rid of 2 7 out of 10s for a player who can be 9 out of 10 pretty consistently when he wants to be. Which means we've got one team that we've not mentioned. We've got one position we've not mentioned. And before you guys rail into me, this is not blue delusion. This is not blue tinted glasses. This might be just due to the fact that I've watched an awful lot of Chelsea over the preseason, over the Club World Cup. But I believe Chelsea are the best team in world football as it stands. And I think that when you side players like Joao Pedro and when you have Liam Delap on the bench ready to come off for the best 30 minutes of football you've ever seen, you've got the best DM in the world next to Enzo, next to Santos, next to fucking Dario Esugo. I think that this is going to be a wonderful season. And, I think that all we've got to do is patch up that back line. If we sign Donnarumma tomorrow, video pointless, blood. Just put the blue ribbon on the bomber clat thing and we'll get it lifted already. I can't wait. I cannot wait to be going down the King's Road marching on with my blue top on come May. And I think that you feel the same way.
100%. I unfortunately have not got Chelsea top of the league, but I want to, but I just can't. I can't. I just feel like I wanna underachieve, over deliver, bro. I want to be gassed when we win it. I don't want to be not gassed when we don't. You get me? But you know what? I think Chelsea have as fair a shout. And the one thing that I will say is I feel like our top four, actually our entire predictions could be completely different in 2 weeks. Like we said, if Palace lose Eze and Gehi, they're fucked. If Arsenal go out and sign a Rodrigo, play on the left wing, they're now back in the conversation. If Liverpool actually sign Alexander Isak, I've got to put them top. There is just no way that I cannot, in my heart of hearts, say that these guys, I think they will do this. But I am going off the basis that this is going to be a Phil Foden year. I feel like, and what you said about Man City was bang on. I feel like they've lost a lot of players. There's been a big switch. And I feel like getting rid of those players, like not necessarily getting rid, that's not very fair. But Kevin De Bruyne, obviously huge transition, huge period of this club dedicated to his life. And he's been that guy for so long. Before him, it was David Silva. After him, it's got to be Foden. This is a player that is almost playing himself out of the England setup. The way that other players are playing themselves in, he's playing himself out over the last year. And pundits might not agree, and he might still get in the team. But any fan that watches football with 2 eyes will tell you that Phil Foden barely played last year. He barely turned up in a couple of games, let alone 38. And if he comes back to where we know he can as one of England's best creative young attacking midfielders, with Haaland, Marmoush, Cherki, Doku, potentially either Savinho or Rodrigo, Vinicius. I think there's so much talent there. And I just feel like Pep Guardiola, he's given it all this talk to, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not going anywhere. I feel like he has said to these boys, right, I've got to leave. I can't do this anymore. But if we're going out with a bang. We are going out on a high. We are going out. Look, it might have been the worst. When do you remember City being as lackluster as they were last year? They finished 13 points behind Liverpool, bro.
Yeah.
They finished third in the league.
Brutal.
They challenged. But that was still, that's 4 games. If Liverpool lose 4 games, City win those 2 games, it's within 6, 7 points. I genuinely think City are going to be back to their best this season. I just don't see how they can't be. But then again, nobody predicted them to fall off last year. So that does unfortunately leave Chelsea second. But I think Chelsea definitely, I would say I'm most confident about Chelsea finishing in top four out of those four teams. I say if you had to pick a winner, I'm probably less confident about Chelsea. But if you had to pick a team that was guaranteed to be in the top four, I'd say Chelsea are more likely than a team like Arsenal, than a team like Liverpool. I think that we've just got that harmonious blend. I feel like it's all coming together. We've got the depth in the positions, we've got the right players in, we've got the healthy competition. And look, people may not like the fact that we are, rival fans, do like to say that we are ruthless. Some of them bemoan it, but they wish their club was like us. They wish that if they had a player that did not perform, he was told to get the fuck out the club that summer. No team does it like Chelsea. No team will finish in Champions League places, win 2 bits of silverware, and then go starting striker on 20 goals a season. You're out. We're signing 2 more. Christopher Nkunku, our
Word.
talisman, the project player, for signed for 60 mil. You're gone. No Chelsea team, Noni Madueke, our starting left winger. Oh, you're gone. There is no team that is as ruthless as Chelsea, and I genuinely feel like definitely at least in the first half of that cycle, the first year, it is all very positive, healthy competition. And if we can keep João Pedro and Liam Delap firing, if we can keep Cole Palmer and Reece James fit and consistently playing to the best of their abilities, if we can integrate players like Gittins, Esteval, Neto, and they are playing to the best of their ability, this Chelsea team can theoretically walk the title. We could probably win 38 games out of 38 if we put our minds to it. We've already won 16 out of the last 18. But in my heart of hearts, as a Chelsea fan, I'm going to have to be conservative and say that I think we finished second.
Just to add to it, I think that last season, when you look at where we were by December, when people were doing the whole "Are Chelsea in a title race" thing, when we were 2 points off Liverpool, I think up to that point we didn't even really look that good. To be totally honest, we looked all right. Like, don't get me wrong, and we were winning games, but we were bleeding like 1.5 goals a game. It felt like every single game there was a mistake coming out from the back, and there was someone injured and something going on. And to have that same team, but all the players that we had questions about, and when you bring it back to September, you even got, is Mykhailo Mudryk going to have the breakout season? He ends up getting pushed to the side with the doping thing, right? And then is Christopher Nkunku going to be able to like do it this season? He never really gets a shoe in. Is Cole Palmer going to continue to be this excellent player? He ends up dipping off in form. Nicholas Jackson, is he finally going to find his shooting boots? He never really kind of does it. And now we're looking at the team and it's thinking, well, Cole Palmer's back. He's found his shooting boots and kept his rhythm back from the bad form he had. João Pedro is a real striker. He's a proper doing his thing in the box, fox in the box type player. And even if he's not, we got Liam Delap to replace him. Last year, is Sancho going to be able to do it this season? Are Chelsea going to buy at schools? We got Bino Gittins now. He's twice the player that he is. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, Madueke, where's he come from? Get rid? We got Esteval now. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like all the questions we had last season, I think that we've got not only an answer for, but we've got a pack-a-punch answer for. We got
all bar one. Let's be honest.
Well, the goalkeeping situation is still got a question mark hanging over its head, but once again, that can be something that is fixed. And next season, we get in that wonderful 21-year-old Belgian chocolate mustard. We're gonna not have an issue in goal. So yeah, listen. I'm excited for the season, and I genuinely think that we are the best team in the league, if not the best team in world football. And on our day, we get the right tactics ongoing. I have more than enough faith in Enzo Maresca. I'm praying to this baby boy, Jesus Christ, that Enzo Maresca's found his brain, and I think he's what I've been listening to. So, yeah, I'm more than happy and more than excited.
Hey, listen, man, I'm here for the optimism. And in case you didn't clock, by the way, Charms is talking about Mike Penders. I've never heard Mike Penders described as, what was that? Chocolate, what?
Chocolate mustard.
I thought you were talking about Jamal Blackman for a minute, bro. I was like, whoa, what is this guy's been some reaching. But Mike Penders, I don't know if you saw, I'm pretty sure he played his first game the other day for Strasbourg. First game, first clean sheet. Bosh! Kendry Pyers, Mike Penders doing bits already over there in League 1. But yeah, man. Let us know which side of the fence you sit on. Do you sit on Charms's more optimistic side? Chelsea are going to get the job done. Not can Chelsea get the job done, because the answer is yes. Are Chelsea going to get the job done this season, or are
No.
we going to fall slightly short? The other thing that I've got to say is obviously there's still the possibility that Man City, even, though it won't happen, incredibly unlikely, there's the possibility that Man City get expelled from the league or, relegated with this 115 charges. Apparently, that's why players like Vinicius Jr. are a little bit hesitant to join them. But like we said, we don't sit here talking about predictions and go, oh, but this might happen, this might. These are our predictions. Let us know what you think. Let us know at the end of the season as well how many we got terribly wrong. But I feel confident. I feel like the fact that we both had not quite the same order, but we had virtually the same teams in the same 4 or 5 positions. I feel like it's going to be a very, very competitive year. I feel like it's going to be a very, very good year in the Premier League. And I think there's a lot of talent. We say this every year, but it seems like the talent pool, yes, there have been a few players that have been let go, players like Kevin De Bruyne that will be sorely missed. But the amount of talent coming into this Premier League, and I suppose that leads me nicely into to the first one of 4 accolades. Who's the player that you're most excited to watch or see this season in the Prem?
Well, I want to. I want to see how, as a Chelsea fan, I've kind of got two answers for it. Personally, it's Esteban, Joao Pedro. I want to see how them two really kick on for Chelsea. But as we mentioned earlier, and I hate giving big props to this team, I think Benjamin Sesko is a great signing, and I'm very excited to see how well he kicks on at United. I really do think he's going to do well, and yeah, I think outside of Chelsea, probably Benjamin Sesko.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, hands down. If you're a Chelsea fan and you're not saying Esteval Willian, you need to go and watch some more Esteval Willian comps. I promise you, you will be watching no
Mind
other
blown.
Chelsea player bar him before the end of the night. But yeah, I mean, I'd have to go with I think with the Brighton striker. I think Charalampos Kostoulas, someone that I hadn't heard of before this week, and I am now extremely excited. I mean, I could sit here and talk about any number of Chelsea players that I'm buzzing to see. Gittins, Santos, Esteval, like you said, João Pedro, Jorel Hato, a player that I'm really excited to see this season, and can he live up to the expectations and the hype? But yeah, I think also George Petrovic, watch out. 20 clean sheets this season with Bournemouth. Watch.
Mm.
100%. And also, as I kind of said earlier, Adam Asnu for Everton is another player that I want to keep an eye on. But who's your dark horse this year? Who's your team that either A, you think could make a surprising challenge for the Premier League title, or B, you just think is going to have a massive step up from last season?
Well, yeah, if we're talking about massive step up from last season, once again, hate doing it. I think Manchester United are going to be relatively back. I really like their recruitment so far. I think that they've signed three Premier League caliber players, maybe not proven. Two of them definitely are, though. And I think Brian Mbeumo is a very good player. I think Matheus Cunha is a very, very good player. And I don't even need to say the guy's name again. I think they've bought a really good striker. So I am excited to see how they, well, I'm not at all, to be totally frank, but I think that they will have a very good season, particularly compared to where they were last year at 15th, where, I've got them, funnily enough, 2 places above Spurs, both of them, I think, in and around 9 places better than they were last season. Be pretty much impossible to not think that either of those two sides would have a substantially better year than expected. But the other one is Sunderland. I mean, I have them in 14th. So to say that I wouldn't call them the dark horse to kind of be more or the most improved or the most overperforming side in the league. Yeah, I think Sunderland's probably the most sort of niche shout.
Yeah, overperformers FC. I think they've definitely got all the potential and all the players to do well. Mine, which is probably the most divisive team or the most divisive pick of this episode, mine's Everton, who you obviously felt completely the other side to me. I'm interested to hear as well. Let us know not just about our whole thoughts, but let us know whether you think Everton are going to go up or down, whether they're going to finish top half, bottom half. Also, let us know your 4 picks. Who do you think your dark horse, your player to watch, and your next 2 accolades are as well. And as we mentioned that, moving on. Flop of the year, Charms. I think it's fairly obvious.
I think it's the bees. It's their time, isn't it? I think Brentford are on their way down. It's a hard knock life, and they came up very fast. They're going to go down just as fast. You know what I mean? Although they've been in around the Premier League for so long, I think that to go from 10th to 19th in the way that they're, in my opinion, about to, I think It's going to be brutal, but you don't lose. I'm sorry, you cannot lose the manager that got you all the way here, the players that got you all here, and even the players that came out of left field, like Wissa, who just kind of happened to overperform when they're refusing to come to training, not wearing their boots and putting on the Timberlands, going for a little jog. I think it's time for them to kick on.
Yeah, I haven't got them down as my flop of the season, but I'd agree. I think they're going to have the biggest fall off. My flop there is going to be West Ham. I think anybody watching or anybody that watched the start of the video knows how I still feel about Graham Potter. There's a lot of PTSD still in there, and I think maybe not flop of compared to last season to this season because they were dire last year. But I think compared when you look at similar to Brentford, you know, they've had a good last couple of years, points where they were challenging for Europe. West Ham obviously won the Conference League with Declan Rice. And yeah, you know, to see the fall from grace when they had Rice, Kudus, Paquetá, Bowen, you know, all these exciting attacking players and to see how far they've regressed, it really is painful. And then Charms, I want to do our golden boot same time. I want to do a 3-2-1. Say your player. Who do you think is going to be top scorer in the Premier League this year? 3, 2, 1. Cole Palmer.
Joao Pedro. All right.
No, that's close enough. That's close enough. That's close
All
enough.
right, we'll take
We've
it.
both gone for a
We'll take
Chelsea
it.
player. You reckon João Pedro is going to be top scorer in the Premier League
Yeah,
this
yeah.
season?
And I think,
More goals than
well,
Haaland. Come on.
I think that Erling Haaland is probably going to win it, if I'm being totally honest. Like, the guy's an absolute fucking machine. And when you give him 30, 35 games in the Premier League, you're looking at 30, 35 goals. It's kind of been proven. And Mo Salah as well. You know, I think that he's probably just a pinch off of it. I think he's starting to be on that other side of the hill now, and I think we saw that against Palace. So he's probably out of the running for me. But what I've seen from Joao Pedro, you know, 5 goals in 5 games is no fluke. It's not like we're playing bloody Esperance Tunis and that. You know, he's doing it against PSG and he's doing it against Premier League teams, and he's being in there and showing that he can be physical. Last season, he was also just as good from set pieces. And I think that composure and now that confidence that he's got, knowing that he is a Chelsea striker, replacing Nicholas Jackson, who was not Chelsea ready as a Premier League striker. I think that he's got all the ability, all the confidence, and all the supporting cast around him to really be able to give him that 25 goals. And I think that's what you need to be in the race, is about 25 to 30 goals. And I honestly do believe if he keeps fit, I don't see a world where he doesn't. And I'm surprised you say Cole Palmer, because although he does take the penalties, does take the free kicks, I think he has moved into a little bit more of that utilitarian sort of role where he's looking for the passes to make. And I think that he will get a lot of assists this season. And I think that he will be a big key reason why Joao Pedro wins the Golden Boot. So enlighten me why you picked Cole Palmer.
I don't disagree that I think he will be, you know, bagging the assist this year. I think that will go up exponentially. But I do just think when you compare the first season to the second season, you know, he was just scoring for fun first year, and then last year there were so many games in which we thought he looked a bit leggy. He thought he might have a little bit too much responsibility on that shoulder, on his shoulders. And in the last few games, particularly in the preseason games, we've seen him playing with so much ease. There's so much weight lifted off his shoulders. He has not got a care in the world. He knows he finally has players to pass it to if he can't find a shot. So yes, I do hear that he won't always be looking to do it himself, but I feel like, as you just said, penalties, he's shown us that he can take the free kicks. He's going to be the man that they still look to. If there are 2 free players arriving in the box and you've got time to pick out one of them, you're going to pick out Cole Palmer. And I feel like when you look at the natural finishing in that squad, yes, Pedro and Delap are both great strikers. I feel like Cole Palmer is one of the best, if not the best finisher in the league. And I watched a really good, I think it was, I can't remember, it was Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I can't remember if it was on Joe Nobi Mikel's podcast, but he was talking about strikers and how Haaland was a one-touch finisher. Best in the world at what he does, but you give him 2 touches, he won't do it. Isaac, much better finisher. But Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, who is an unbelievable finisher, as any Chelsea player will know, said, and I echo, that he thinks Cole Palmer is the best finisher in the Premier League because of the ease with which he does it, the ease with which he rolls the ball into the far corner. It is very Lamine Yamal in some of the goals he scores. He has the ability to put that effortless, you know, just roll on the ball, but he can also ping it into the top corner. He can absolutely zip it. He can volley right foot, left foot. You know, this is a guy that I think has had his downtime, and I feel like, much like City, we're going to see a huge resurgence from Cole Palmer this season. Less responsibility, but more enjoyment, more goals, more opportunities going forward. And I do think we are going to see an all-time season from him. I'd be very, very surprised if he wasn't in the running for both the Golden Boot, the Golden Assist. Is there a Golden Assist? Whatever it is. Golden Shin Pad. I don't fucking know. If he wasn't in the running for, Champions League as well, goals in the Champions League, I just think this is the year
And
that this kid
ultimately a
takes
Ballon
over.
d'Or. Ultimately a Ballon d'Or, I'm sure we're all
Look, I mean, I
hoping,
don't want
right?
to say it, but there is no way he is not in the top three for Ballon d'Or next season, and I'd be very, very surprised. You know, Actually, I wouldn't. Lamine Yamal's going to win it. Let's be honest, we all know that. But let's pray that Yamal drops a couple of stinkers and Cole Palmer is still in there in the conversation, because there are not many better players in the world right now. But let us know who you think will be the top scorer in the Premier League next season. Let us know who your dark horse is, who your flop of the season is, who the player you are most excited to watch. And of course, let us know what you think of our predictions. Who do you think is going to win the 2025-26 Premier League? This has been the longest Two Blues Tuesday, Two Blues Thursday episode in a while. You are going to get ahead of triple whammy, man, ahead of tomorrow's first game in the Premier League season. We are going to get a last chopping it up with charms, giving you your last minute FPL tips and tricks before the deadline. So make sure to be on this channel 5:30, 6 o'clock tomorrow night as well. But guys, appreciate everybody that's tuned in. We've got a big season of football and of content ahead of us. We're going to be doing less live stuff this year, but we're going to be doing far more consistent shows. We're going to be back on the Loan Watch, the Academy Watch. Charms is going to be bringing you fantasy content virtually every single week,
Chicks.
and also discussion episodes for a little bit of banter as well. And you will, as always, if we're not both here, one of us will be here. You will get a Two Blues Tuesday 38 weeks out of 38 this season. Fingers crossed. We're manifesting it, boys. But until then, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Follow at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram and the TikTok. And as always, we appreciate every single person for continuing to watch and support the channel. Big up yourselves. Come on, the boys. Up the Chelsea.
Yeah, chills.